Hi, everyone. I'm Pete Wright with LexJet, and I'm joined today by Michael Clementi. He's our in-house technical expert here at LexJet. And today we're together to talk about the GP2000 and the GP4000, specifically how they fit perfectly into the fine art industry. Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Pete. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So for those that aren't familiar with the Canon imagePROGRAF GP2000 and GP4000, what really sets those apart from the rest of the aqueous printing industry?
I think the GP2000 and 4000 are set aside by their colors that are in the printer. It's really a unique printer in that they have orange, green, violet, and now fluorescent pink, which is the ink that really puts it above the rest. It separates itself out. It gives you that extended color gamut, and it also gives you that really pop advantage where you can really hit some unique fluorescents that are very cool that you can call out when you're doing your design work.
So you mentioned fluorescent pink. So for those that maybe aren't familiar with how that's going to help them in fine art printing, exactly what is it that it does in terms of their color gamut?
There are certain colors that are almost impossible to reach, and a lot of those are in that fluorescent range of pinks especially. I mean, I've never seen a printer hit these colors that this printer can hit in regards to those tonal ranges that are pinks and oranges, particularly because the oranges mix in the pink to make the oranges as well. So when you mix those two colors together, you create a whole tonal range that kind of extends that area. Not to mention that this printer does have orange, violet, and green, which is totally opposite of the Pro 46, 26, and 6600s. They have the red and blue with photo gray and optimizer. So it's kind of just an opposite end of the spectrum. I think it's almost like you have to have both printers if you want to do fine art repro and you want to be able to do pop art, where you're doing those really extenuating colors and you want to get really poppy colors in those pinks and oranges. Well, you're going to need that GP2000 and 4000 for that. And if you want to go crazy with the reds and blues and get into that deeper tonal range, as well as like that optimizer for the fine or photo papers, your Pro series is going to do better with that. So you kind of have advantages to both printer technologies.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I always use to categorize it is from a photography standpoint. If you primarily do portraits, weddings, things like that, you're printing your family portraits, that's a Pro Series machine.
Yep.
But if you're a photographer that does landscapes with bright, vivid, colorful sunsets or sunrises, or just beautiful architectural photography that's a lot of times going to have color that just jumps off of the page when you print it, that's really your GP. I mean, those bright, vivid colors that you see in fine art print, that's what the GP is for. So outside of that relevant section of photographers, who else is this for? Are we talking schools? Are we talking galleries? What other types of businesses are we looking at?
I think, you could probably include point of purchase into that as well, because a lot of those stores now are using these colors that are trying to go outside of the reach of the norm. They're trying to create really high intense visuals that include those fluorescents. So I think point of purchase, in-house marketing, anything that those colors need to be included into the imagery for a brand specific purpose, those types of customers can make sense.
Yeah, and I think the consumers have gotten so used to seeing kind of four-color printing, the CMYK type printing, that what they're used to seeing in terms of when they pick up a magazine or something like that, they're seeing a gamut that they're used to that looks fine to them. And this is so far expanded beyond that even if you are printing people in images, it's going to look better than what the average consumer probably would consider, because it's far beyond the standard four-color system that we look at when we pick up, like I said, a magazine, or if we look at posters hanging on the wall and commercial type applications. This goes way beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing is that Canon gave you the feature of, they've got these colors picked out, and we've actually built a really cool system online I've got a JPEG and a TIFF that's in the folder for these printers where their profiles are. That actually is a spot color call out that you can use as a palette when you're designing. So you can actually take the fluorescent and take your eyedropper, select the color you want, and then design with it in either Photoshop or Illustrator. So I've got it set up for RGB and CMYK. It's just an easy platform for our customers to go grab that file and be able to get running with these colors that they want to use and include in there.
Now, you mentioned profiles. Where does the customer go to get those profiles? And are there profiles available for a lot of the different medias and stuff that we have?
Yeah, so LexJet, I've actually built a bunch of profiles for fluorescent and non-fluorescent, so you can pick which one you're going to use based on if you're using fluorescent or not. And it's available on LexJet.com under the support tab for ICC Profiles for that printer specifically. And we have everything. I mean, fine art papers, canvases, even polypropylenes and banner materials that can be run through that printer.
All right, I definitely want to circle back to the poly and the banner. So we'll hit back to that later on. But let's say we've gone through, we've downloaded the profiles, we're doing our printing. How do these printers handle really fine detail? I mean, if I'm a fine art studio or a gallery or a photographer, and I've got a fine art piece of reproduction work that I want to put out there, and I need to make sure that these reproductions look as good as original, how is it going to handle that fine detail?
So the printers are using the same head technology as the Pro Series photographic machines. So it's a photographic print head, and they're basically just loading it up with 12 different colors than the Pro Series. So it is technically their photographic series print head, and really does a great job with transitions, colors. I mean, it's photographic 100% of the way.
So what have you seen in terms of people taking this printer and going a step beyond? I mean, I know embellishing's out there. Have you seen people embellishing with this, and how does that work? Is it suitable for that type of stuff?
Yeah, so the pigment in here is a water-based pigment, and it is a water-resistant pigment. So you can apply a varnish, you can apply embellishments to it. I have seen people do brush stroking with embellisher on canvas, even on fine art paper, using some mixed media options and doing some really cool things with torn edges, and really just trying to accentuate that fine art appeal and making things stand out by being different. And again, that's the fluorescent way. It's different, definitely. You can tell it's on the paper because it's so standout. It jumps out at you. It's one of those things that creates an impact.
Now, you mentioned that it has the same print head as what's in the Pro Series. I'm going to assume that it can handle all the different texture medias and canvases like you mentioned that the Pro Series does. Does it handle all that all right?
Yeah, I mean, the same feed system chassis, the body even looks the same. They're using a lot of the same components because it's such a tried and true printer. And now they've just taken it and said, okay, well, what can we do that can kind of open up a different area of focus for people and offer a different part of the gamut. So if you look at the gamut comparisons, there's high ends over here on the GP2000, 4000, and low ends over here on the 26, 46, and 66. And they kind of just are two different types of gamuts.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about some of the medias that you've seen coming off of this that have really performed really well. I mean, I know we have a pretty vast library of fine art medias, but like you said, you've been going through creating all the profiles for these. What are some of the medias that when you look at it, be like, wow, that really sings?
So I always go with the metallic first on the fluorescent because that combination is just killer. I mean, you look at underwater photographers that have these bright oranges and clownfish, that sort of color where it's the blue tangs and all these crazy coral colors. Those really shine with metallic and that fluorescent activated. It's just mind-blowing because the metallic really puts off a wet look to the paper. So it comes off looking like it's got a sheet of glass over it, and all the colors just jump out at you. So that would be the first one that I would choose. And then the second one, if you're really wanting a nice bright white point, but a really high-end paper, then the Sunset Fiber Matte paper would be one that I would go with too because it's really thick and it feels really good in the hand, but it also has a nice white point. So when you print those colors on there and you've got that contrast between the darkest black on the paper and the whitest white of the paper plus all those fluorescents coming out, that's really nice to have a smooth surface and just have a nice, thick paper. The other one I was thinking about for this was the other day I was printing to it, and it's the new Sunset Copper Plate Rag. And that one, it's a little, up there in price because it is mold made. So it's really, a high-end product to sell to those high-end customers if you want to get something that's just one of a kind. But it's a mold-made paper. So basically what that means is it's traditionally, put into a mold with a pulp and then pressed, and all the texture from the pressing comes out in the surface. So it's basically like, emulation of a really handmade paper. It's really beautiful stuff, and it has a really unique texture on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I'm going to have to go by and check that out over the Experience Center.
Yes.
So you mentioned banners. So let's say I'm a fine art studio. I bought this printer specifically for doing fine art reproductions, doing some original pieces, hanging those up. What are some other things that I can do with some of these specialty medias like banners that might make it pay for itself? Because that's one of our big discussions that we're like, okay, I bought this machine for this, but I'm looking for ROI. So how can I make this machine pay for itself by doing things beyond what I purchased it for? So talk to me a little bit about that.
I think a lot of the Pro Series and the GP Series are kind of the jack of all trades printers, where you can really use it to do your work, your everyday, whatever it is you're doing, a photographic or fine art reproduction, or whatever company you're running with that printer, specifically targeting that market, but also doing all your in-house stuff. So save yourself some money and print your own banners and print your own window decals, or print your own car window decal, or whatever it is you want to do to promote your business. So that's one way you can kind of use it to get ROI, is drive new business in. The other, obviously, is if you're not doing printing in-house and you're bringing this printer in to do it, you're saving hand over fist with how much your production is going to cost, as far as your ink and media. Just to give you an example, like the ink on this printer is anywhere from 50 to 65 cents a square foot. That's full coverage, and actually the media is only going to be, depending on what you get into, anywhere from 50 cents on a photo paper to, $2 on a fine art paper or canvas per square foot. So your total cost is like $2.50 a square foot. You're definitely paying way more to outsource it. You're probably up in the to $10 range. So I think, people that are looking at getting into these printers and listening to this, they're probably going to want to know that they're going to get that cost savings if they bring it in-house. And they're going to have all these options for all these beautiful media to run. Now you have the choice of what you're going to run. So that gives you that effect too. And also all the cool stuff that you can print to, all the different types of materials you can run through there. Sky's the limit.
So you mentioned fluorescent pink earlier has the option to turn it on and off. So this is new to me. Let's say I've just gotten this printer. Man, I don't know if it should be on or off. How much testing do I need to do? And is it going to be like jumps off the page, the difference that I'm going to see? And how do I know, okay, well, for certain images, I really don't need that fluorescence pink, so save it. And for certain ones, I need to turn that on. So what are we thinking? What's our mindset?
Sure. So you have different files, right? Raster's kind of just your photographic file, and vector's your Illustrator built custom designed file, right? So I think raster images, it's really cool because they really thought this out. They've automated where the fluorescent pink is going to be used when you activate it. So even if you don't have something called out as a spot color for those fluorescent pinks, you can mix it into it. It'll automatically mix into a raster image file. So it is going to give you a color saturation boost. You will see, like if you printed a normal flesh tone image where you're taking a portrait and you're shooting it, and it's got kind of like the oranges and a little bit of that color in there where maybe those pinks will mix in, it'll give that a little bit of a rise in color saturation. So maybe you don't want that on somebody's face, but where it's, like you said, when you're using it for landscapes and you're doing sunsets, or you're doing, like underwater, like we talked about earlier, that automatic option to mix it in, you want that on, especially when it's, a really high mix of color that is highly saturated, and you want to bring that up and you want to have it to the forefront where it's just coming off the page. So that's where I would turn it on. I mean, and also, like I said, if you're using vector and you're doing, a design where you're picking out those spots to mix in, that just gives you the extra added benefit of being, a little different than the next.
Now, one of the things we talked about before we started filming was software. And What's interesting, and one of the things I think really makes Canon stand out is you're not just stuck with one option. Like a lot of places, they'll say, okay, we have a software, it comes with this one piece of software. Canon has a lot of options to a point where I have one that I like that you don't care for. You have one that you like that I care a little bit. I like it. I mean, it's not that we dislike the one or the other. We just have favorites.
Yes.
So I'm a big fan of professional print and layout. You like?
I like the Free Layout Plus. I mean, it's nice that you have options. That's the thing is like you normally when you get a printer out of the box with any other company, it's going to be you get the driver software and you're on your own with other stuff. So it's nice that Canon gives you the options. And
Right.
I like the Free Layout Plus only because it's just drag and drop
It's
and
simple.
rotate and simple. And
I mean, if you come from a rip background, it's
Yeah.
as close to a standard rip as you're going to get, and it has some really great options. I come from the photography industry, so my world is more Photoshop.
I think it's background
Lightroom.
differences. We just figured it out.
Exactly. Probably. So, I mean, to me, professional print and layout feels a lot more like what I'm used to within Photoshop and Lightroom and things like that. But they both are great pieces of software, and you have options. So if you come in, I mean, it's kind of nice to have that to say, not only am I getting a really great device, I don't have to pay money for another piece of software, and I'm not stuck with one. Like if you get into it and you have one and you're like, man, this is not for me.
And you have the driver. So like got three, you got three ways to print.
Exactly.
So.
And then on top of that, you have the accounting manager software.
Yep.
And you're going to have media configuration tool because that's something that you're going to need when you go to LexJet.com under the support and you download the ICC profiles. You need the media configuration tool to install those.
Yeah.
But all of this is free software.
And
So
we have videos on everything.
exactly.
So LexJet's got everything for you for the printer.
So you've got this the GP2000 and 4000 that really pack a punch. And then when you combine that with the software, it's kind of a 1-2 punch. It's a really great setup.
It is. And the media profiles. So you get all three things.
Perfect. Michael, thanks for your time today. It's always great speaking with you. If you have any questions about the GP2000 and 4000 and you think it might be a good fit for you, give us a call at 800-4LEXJET. And for all of your printer and supply needs, check us out at LexJet.com.